Alright, so with Killing Floor 3 coming out, I thought I'd review one of my favorite games of all time, Killing Floor 2. Killing Floor 2 is a first-person shooter that has you killing hordes of Zeds, upgrading your weapons between rounds to eventually fight a final boss, which results in a very fun gameplay loop with very satisfying gunplay. Now this is a review after 100%, but technically there isn't like a definitive 100% for this game. However, I've platinumed the game, I have about 100 hours in it, I've played every single map, used every single class, and used every single weapon, which I mean is basically 100%. Of course, my PlayStation account is in the description if you do want to like double check or anything. Now the first thing I want to get to when talking about this game is obviously the gameplay. This game is a round-based zombie shooter with almost no story. There is some lore, but you would really have to go out your way to find it, and it's mostly environmental stuff. None of it is really told to you in game. It's essentially just an evil company creating zombies and you have to kill them. Pretty basic stuff, but there's no like story mode in this game. Essentially there are like 4 modes. There's your regular survival mode, which you'll most likely be playing. Then there is a weekly with weekly objectives, which give you a lot of dosh, which is what money is called in this game. That is used for opening your vault. And then you have an endless mode and an objective mode, which you likely won't be spending a lot of time in. Now for survival and endless, you are able to pick a difficulty between normal, which is extremely easy, hard, which is like the normal mode, and then suicidal is like the hard mode, and then hell on earth is just like impossible. Now this game is not particularly hard, especially on solo, so once you do get used to the game, everything under hell on earth is fairly easy. I'd also say solo is way easier than multiplayer, although I'd say it's relatively the same as long as you have a group of players who know what they're doing. But hell on earth is hard no matter what, and on survival you're able to pick between 3 different lengths: short, medium, and long. I would absolutely recommend only playing short. In my opinion, it's where the game is the most well paced and the most enjoyable, whereas medium and long, it kind of just feels awkward and drawn out. Like you get very little money between rounds, and it's just really not that fun in my opinion. Now as for the actual gameplay, there is a certain number of rounds, and when you finish the round, you'll go to the trader with the amount of money you have and either upgrade your gun or buy a new one, until you eventually fight a boss in the final round. Now these bosses kind of range in difficulty. Some of them are extremely easy, while some of them are extremely challenging, but all of them are fun to fight. They're all fairly unique from each other. There's only really one bad boss in my opinion, but these bosses add a fairly unique twist to the game, since almost all your XP comes from killing them, and you've just spent 8 minutes trying to get here. It definitely does add a lot of stake to that final round. But outside of the bosses, you have a very good variety in enemies. A lot of them serve a different purpose, although you're mostly going to be killing all of these the exact same way. You definitely have to think about which Zeds you want to kill first and prioritize the harder Zeds, but some Zeds can't be killed like the other ones, which does switch up the gameplay. For example, there's robots with cores in their chest, husks with range attacks, crawlers which are on the floor, flesh pounds whose weak spots are on their chest, and then you have rioters that are only exposed on the legs. Overall, this game does just make you switch up your targets a lot, and as you increase the difficulties, a cool thing that this game does, it introduces more enemies, and enemies gain new moves. Overall, the enemies are just great in this game, but the real best thing in this game has to be the gunplay. The guns in this game are so satisfying to use, as well as the melee weapons. These are also very fun to use. The melee combat in this game is very good as well. The direction that you're moving changes the way that you attack your melee. You have a heavy and a light and a parry. It all just works really well. And as for the guns, the more conventional guns like the ARs and the SMGs, this is all really satisfying as well. This side of the gameplay is heavily based on like headshots, which rewards accuracy and precision, as well as it just being fun to watch their heads explode. Outside of like the normal weapons, you have like the fire weapons and the explosives, which are also extremely satisfying. This side of the gameplay is mainly used for like clearing crowds and stuff, and I really don't think that there's a more satisfying feeling in gaming than just blowing up a clump of enemies. Like it is genuinely one of the best feelings ever, where there are just like 7 zombies stacked on top of each other and then you just blow them all up. The same goes for fire. It's also just really fun to watch a bunch of zombies walk through any fire that you put down. Now as for the movement is fairly average. Like there's nothing too special about it. You know, you could walk, run, jump, and crouch. You're not like fast or slow or anything. Like it's just average, but it works. It's completely fine. Overall, the gameplay is absolutely perfect in this game. Everything is extremely fun, and I can't think of many first-person shooters that even come close to being as fun as this one. Now as for the weapons in this game, there are a ton of weapons for every single perk. There are 10 perks in this game: Berserker, Commando, Support, Field Medic, Demolitionist, Firebug, Gunslinger, Sharpshooter, SWAT, and Survivalist. I mean, you can probably tell by the icons, but Berserker is your melee class, Commando is like your ARs, Support is your shotguns, and their special ability is like welding and stuff. Field Medic is obviously healing items, Demolitionist is explosive stuff, Firebug is fire weapons, Gunslinger focuses on pistols, Sharpshooter is like marksman rifles and snipers, SWAT is like SMGs and they also have a lot of armor, and Survivalist is just all of them combined. All of these perks play vastly different. Some of these do feel the same, but every single perk has a skill tree, and as you level up the skill tree, it does end up making a big difference between every single perk. All of these perks do have like their own playstyle, specifically Field Medic, Demolitionist, Berserker, and Firebug. They all play pretty differently from the standard playstyle. The rest of them play fairly the same. The reason I'm even bringing this up is because having so many different classes play differently in a first-person shooter, if you do end up getting bored of one class, you can switch to another and it's basically like a whole different game. Obviously it's still fairly similar, but the way you're playing is going to be completely different depending on the perk, which just adds a lot of replayability. But the actual weapons make a lot of difference as well. There are a ton of weapons in this game, and they all feel very unique, which is kind of hard to achieve in a game like this. But a lot of guns have their own like unique quirk, especially the DLC weapons, which I will get onto in a bit, but it all just feels very different to each other. But as a whole, the armory that you have access to in this game is phenomenal as well. I also want to talk about the cosmetics in this game quickly, as well as the DLC. I understand a lot of people hate microtransactions microtransactions, but this game's cosmetics are genuinely so good. Like, I'm not usually one to like buy skins in games and stuff, but I've bought like every single DLC for this game. All of it is pretty cheap. In fact, you can get almost every single cosmetic in the game through a cosmetic pass, which I think I got for around like £5 or $5, and it was absolutely worth it. The weapon skins in this game, even the ones that you get for free, are very well made, and you might have seen in the gameplay when I headshot an enemy that their head just explodes and like rainbow colors come out. They're like headshot effects. Those are also absolutely worth buying as well. It just makes the game so much more fun. And again, all of this stuff is just extremely cheap now. So if you do get the game, these are absolutely worth buying. Now, as for the DLCs in this game are the DLC guns. I feel like a lot of these are like hit or miss. Some of the guns are just garbage, while some of the guns are like easily the best in the perk. Now, you're most likely going to buy this in like a season pass or something. And I would also recommend buying these just because a lot of these guns are better than the base game guns and are really fun to use. Specifically the ones I'm going to put on screen. But again, it's all like pretty cheap as well. Obviously, you don't have to buy any of this to enjoy the game. The game is perfect as it is. But if you have a little extra money to spend, I would absolutely recommend buying all of this stuff. However, there are a couple issues with the UI. The UI is just extremely outdated and is just awful to use in general. And there is this like weird thing that happens where occasionally a message will pop up in your inventory saying that your inventory is populating, which basically means you just aren't allowed to use anything that you bought, which is obviously extremely annoying. But this doesn't like happen often or anything. Now, there isn't like any overarching progression system in this game. There's more like two small ones. Your perk can be leveled to level 25. With every 5 levels, you gain a new choice between 2 skills. And then when you reach level 25, you can prestige that perk, which will unlock a new cosmetic. And you can do this a couple times. Each prestige you can level up faster as well. And then there's the vault that I mentioned earlier. Essentially, you get dosh after every single game. That goes inside the vault, and then after a certain amount of money, you will get a crate. Your main sources of money will come from doing challenges and weekly, which ultimately at a certain point is just not really that important because the stuff that you get in these crates are usually just absolutely awful. Now, the maps for this game are really good. You have quite a wide variety, not in just the amount of maps, but in the environments as well. Like in the 3 games that I've shown, the maps look pretty different, and some of these are by the devs, but there's also some from the community as well, which is pretty cool, but it's more of just a lazy way for them to add more maps without actually having to make it themselves. They're all fairly open and well designed. A lot of them have like a unique twist to the map. Like for example, there's one map where a nuke goes off in the background as you play the game, as well as a map called Nightmare, where each round you go through a door and it teleports you to a completely different environment. And these maps still look great. This game looks absolutely phenomenal art design wise. It has a really unique look to it. It's almost like cartoonish, but still realistic. Graphically, this game is held up very well. It still looks great to this day. But overall, Killing Floor 2 is just a very fun zombie shooter. It's easily one of my favorite games of all time. The gameplay is one of the best. The guns have a very satisfying and unique feel to them. The maps look incredible. The art style holds up. And overall, I'd give this game a 9 out of 10. That's going to be it for this review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you end up buying the game. And also, this is my first review, so let me know how it was. I'm still pretty excited for Killing Floor 3, even though it hasn't got like the best reception. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to buy it on launch, but I'm still really looking forward to it. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. I go take a drive on an open road. I think about the things that I want to say and what I really want her to know. I don't want to be too direct and tell her that I love you, but I know I do. Might tell her, baby, I got 2 concert tickets just for me and you, but it's really up to you. I can act like I don't care if you turn me down, but I know I really do. So can I go with you?